the inaugural episode of Treasure Box Press's Roundup Pod, where we cover the latest of what's going on in the Weeb Streets. I am your first host, Pleiades, head writer of Treasure Box Press. Here on my right, I think, is how this is going to work out, just from our layout on this cam setup, is our other host. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm D'Angelo. I'm the media manager for Treasure Box Press. I don't have as much energy as he does, so I apologize in advance.
Woo! Look, listen, you got all the energy in the world. You're good. So how are you this evening? I just have to ask you that. Make sure that all my people are good. How's your day been? How's your week been?
I'm chilling. I'm vibing. I got the rubber chicken back here behind me. My boy, rubber chicken.
Where?
Right there.
Where?
Wait. Oh, it's hard to with the mirror of the camera.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull him out.
Oh!
This is my favorite employee of Treasure Box Press, Chicken King.
Chicken King, not Chicken Coon.
Nice, Chicken King.
See, the thing was you had it right next to the jacket, hence it was just blending in. It's the problem. It's got to be out in front, like a champion. But okay, that's good to know. It's good to know. On my end, workaholic mode. Really glad we managed to pull this together, and I'm really interested in getting into the guts of what's all been going on, at least in the last week, because it feels like it's a whole lot of everything and yet a whole lot of nothing at the same time. And by that, I mean it's a lot of little things that ask a lot of big questions and a lot of big things that are really hard to find, and you really question, how much do I care about this?
Yeah, it's all the small things that add up to like a lot of big things.
For example, shout outs to all the athletes competing in the Tokyo Olympics right now. Good luck to everybody. Congrats on everybody's awards and everything. But it's been an absolute shit show from what I understand in terms of trying to follow it, because there's no cohesive guide that like guides people to be like, okay, so here's when this event is going on this platform, et cetera, and also there's no unified streaming, like online platform for this.
Yeah, it's all sporadic.
So would you wind up? Go ahead.
I don't even know where like to watch it at this point. I just randomly put on like the one TV, and I'm like, I hope this is the right one, and just kind of like let it go. It's way too much effort for me to try to figure out like which one for which. Like, why do I have to switch back and forth to follow the Olympics?
Some of them aren't even live. Like, apparently they were swapping out some of the time blocks for some of the events so that it would be more accessible to like people on the West so they could watch the events. So in a lot of cases, you might be watching something and you think it's live because that's what you're conditioned to, think.
Yeah.
Right? No, not at all. So that's a mess. You were saying like people don't know where to watch. There's people getting banned. Well, first off, if there's anything that you should never even tempt the fates with in terms of DMCA, it is Olympics footage.
No. That
is like the orbital laser cannon of DMCA threats. People are getting banned from Twitch. It's messy. Dudes are like hiring lawyers. It's a mess. It's just like I don't think you understand. Like, this is like trying to record an NFL game. It is not going to end well for you. And I guarantee they have more money in their treasure chest, in their war chest, that is, than you do.
Listen, it might seem more convenient just to watch it on Twitch, but that's not gonna fly. You're gonna get blasted pretty hard. And listen, DMC, I know it's a pain in the ass, but like sometimes it's like you kind of know what's coming. Like, don't be stupid.
Like there's certain things where it's just like could you try to make the argument? Maybe. How much time and energy is going to go into trying to prove your point? Is it worth that?
No, absolutely not.
Not with the Olympics. Not with major multinational like groups like that. Like, it's not happening. All right. But what I will say is, I'm loving the fact that the Olympics are showing off. Just like, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but like weeb culture and just like video culture and all that, you could really tell it's like really permeated the normal social, quote unquote, normal social circles.
I love seeing the screenshots of all like the different people like cosplaying as like Naruto characters. Like I saw like the Jiraiya guy.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
no.
There's some sort of news reporter for one of the Olympics, right? He's dressed up as Jiraiya, and I'm like, that is some Chad shit right there, dude.
Oh my god. I mean, just as like a frame of reference, like from the opening ceremony, they were filling in the music playing for multiple countries with like video game OSTs. They had stuff from Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy. They had the actual Mount Olympus theme from the Hercules world in Kingdom Hearts playing at the Olympics.
I think there's for the volleyball there's Haikyuu music too.
That wouldn't surprise me. That's super fitting. I love it.
That's so good.
I don't know if they had to convince somebody on their production team to do this, but hopefully whoever's idea it was to do that is getting a nice little bonus. Because that if there's any way to get people buzzing about your event, especially when it's like Japan, oh yeah, just
get the weebs out there.
Yo, we'll do the work for them. It's like they recognized us. They like the thing that we like.
Free marketing.
My God. Like specifically, there's like athletes really taking it to another level. Like some of these people are like, again, fucking champions, doing like full on anime poses.
But it's like that one that one boxer that does like the Rock Lee stuff. Well, no, he's MMA, right? I know it's not Olympics, but like it makes me think about it. Yeah.
How is he the MMA fighter? Dude literally has a Naruto seal like tattooed on his stomach, and regularly would come up. Well, not regularly, but there's footage of him like coming into the ring and then doing like the Shinigami jutsu hand signs and everything. It's godlike. I love it. I just love the fact that we can get to the point where it's like, okay, we're celebrating stuff, and also, you know, hey, it's kind of normal now. We can just like stuff. You just have to be so into it that there's no like question about wavering or awkwardness or anything. Just keep going through it. Don't even let any of that awkwardness permeate anything.
Just plow through it. You have to own it. Just own it.
But we're going to talk about incidentally, oh, that was also my hands. We got dudes out here doing the freaking gear second pose.
This gives me lost serotonin, and I like this a lot.
And the thing is, like, it's like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't him. Like, how? No. This is him because Oda like retweeted it and also said thank you, because he was not the only person actively like giving like shout out, like doing like homage to One Piece, because one of the U.S. shot putters also had this happen, and dude goes up to celebrate in full like Frankie mode, like full on arms out. We got Oda like do it for, like, I don't know if he did it himself. I hope that he has like social media campaign people like doing some of this for him, because this man is a workaholic as it is, and we need him to stay alive as long as possible.
It's the official staff announcement Twitter, so I think so.
This man's out here pulling this full on like Frankie pose. Like I don't know if anybody's ever tried to make that gesture, but it is rough. Mostly because
oh my god, that's so good. That's so good.
Peyton Waterhall, man. I'm telling you. And let me find out what we'll put a time tag to the athlete from Greece. Put his name in there. I apologize. I'm a horrible person. But yo, good on you. But seriously, this dude just came up like which just really emphasizes the fact that, first off, I forgot that I was like, wait, why can Frankie do that, but conventional people can't do that? It's like, oh, because Frankie's got Popeye arms. And it's like, what are Popeye arms? They look like massive freaking like hams as forearms. This is the only way that'll work. But it is just amazing that you could, like, I guess because I usually don't associate like anime fandom with the pinnacle of human like kinesthetic performance. Like literally like people breaking records. And it's like, yeah, you can like still watch an anime and all that. It's like, oh, okay. So it has nothing to do with anime if I don't get like my dreams fulfilled or anything, or like push myself to like the brinks of whatever and actually accomplish something significant. No. Anime doesn't stop you from doing that. If anything, just proving that, yo, you just have to like, sometimes you just gotta like go gear second. And you just pop out that extra gear. that's the boot. That's the power up right there, And of course, I mean, like, it's always going to be the Shonen Trinity that gets the most attention from things like this. And to that point, I want to go ahead and get into our next topic that as like I feel like it's probably going to take over the anime news sphere for at least the next week until
more than a week. I'm giving it like 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
The reason being is that what we're going to go ahead and mention right now, or like cover, is the new Bleach one shot that just came out, covering the after event of the series. Which, full disclosure, I was heavy into Bleach up like early on before it got dubbed. Don't ask me how I watched it, but followed it religiously all the way up to the Arancar arc, and then pretty much like about the point where like the anime ended because interest was waning, where it was like where they were in the real world, quote unquote, the living world. Ichigo's a Fullbring or something. It was vaguely explained, and then they immediately went into another arc. That was when my attention span just dropped off a cliff. Because I'm not gonna lie, that Arancar arc was kind of it was rough. I feel like if I would have binged it, maybe I liked it more. But
it was drawn out too much. Like it was like their Arancars were cool, but like for the length that they were juiced. Like that, they weren't that. They did their coolness factor didn't justify the amount of time that they were present.
For reference, if anybody like isn't familiar with Bleach, first off, where the fuck have you been?
Hey, maybe there might be some like Zoomer weebs.
Honestly, they're probably. Well, I won't say they're better off for anything because honestly, if you get into Bleach and you have no familiarity with it, it's a ride for like at least good like 2 arcs. But one of what used to be referred to as the big 3, it was like the flagship. It was one of the 3 flagship series of Shonen Jump that like made them money. It was Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. And today, Bleach was the only one that had its anime legitimately canceled before the manga completed. So after that point, like One Piece is probably nearing like episode 900 by now, I think. Naruto has Boruto, which is, I don't even know how long that's going to go. I try to forget that it exists.
Yes.
But this Bleach one shot, not One Piece. First off, I will say this. Shout out to Tite Kubo. It's Tite Kubo, apparently, I guess. I've always thought it was Tite. Apparently, it's actually supposed to be like pronounced Tite. But there's anything this man is great at doing, it is drawing cool stuff.
You know, something that like kind of set Bleach different from the other big 3, like when it was like Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, was Bleach kind of had like this like punk aesthetic to it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like it was more like it had. I think you like it was kind of more like it had
like drip.
A rock and roll kind of yeah. You see all this like Ichigo literally had some sick drip in that. Like it's a very different like style, right? Because like One Piece and Naruto are like have like a lot of like fantasy elements to it. Like of course Bleach does too. It's about Shinigamis, but like it had like a punk aesthetic to it. It was cool. That's what made it like stand out.
Like regularly speaking, here's the thing. Kubo kind of gave me some certain vibes that align with how I feel about Hirohiko Araki, in that you could tell he had a big vested interest in fashion and like high like stylizations and things like that, because before a lot of chapters when they're putting Shonen Jump, occasionally they'll get like a full color 2-page spread of just like promo art or something that looks neat. It could be completely non-canon to whatever's happening in the series, but Kubo's regularly had the characters in the coolest clothes that they would never wear during the series.
God, they had some style, dude. That's some fat drip.
Despite the fact that in the actual series, everybody just wore the freaking the black Soul Reaper outfit. That's it. So like you rarely ever got to see it. But this man, I don't know, like there's been theories that like, oh, maybe he just wants to like have an excuse to draw cool stuff. In which case, I'm kind of surprised that he'd come back for a one shot, or they'd even like try to resurrect it. Because I thought that,
from what I know of, is that it's confirmed now that they're in the production of making the 1,000-Year Blood Arc anime. So I think it's like to help promote that.
that would make sense.
It's got delayed a bunch because of Corona, but like it's going to come out at some point soon. It's been like confirmed. Because enough like nostalgia and like interest kind of came up again with Bleach that they're actually going to animate the 1,000-Year Blood War, or whatever it's called, the last arc.
I mean, if they give it the right budget, honestly, I'll probably like I'll give it a watch. I don't know, if nothing for curiosity.
Yeah. I heard that from what I know of, it's gonna be like more graphic and stuff like it was in the manga because it's going to be in a different time slot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like they're going all out on it.
That's good. Okay. I mean, that gives me a little bit more confidence. Because the biggest, like, when I think part of like what drove Bleach down that road, and why maybe it's the last of the big three to really like catch back on fire. It's because it's like I don't know, like I love the series, but like you could really tell it was dragging. Like you could really tell.
I loved reading it, but then like each arc, it was like okay, we're dragging our feet now.
It was like there's multiple story beats that were repeated. It was like person gets kidnapped. Spoilers. Person gets kidnapped. They gotta go save the person, and then something, and it's a rescue mission, and then things go south. And it
worked
really
fantastic the first time. It worked fantastic the first time.
The first time it was amazing. The first time was godlike.
I own the first 20 volumes, right? And that's just like the Soul Society arc. And then after I'm like, I'm okay. Like it's so fucking good. Oh, slip this. Oh well, whatever. Fuck it.
But if we want to talk about like drip, just for like brief reference, like this is the kind of stuff we're going with. Like very detailed outfits, chains, trim around the coats. Look at this is a man who like enjoys drawing cool stuff.
You know, so another thing
go ahead.
Something that just comes to mind right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another strange thing about Bleach, like what happened to like half the characters that were at the beginning of the series? Like, please pull up that image again.
Oh yeah.
I need this for reference.
Oh, here we go. Hold on. I gotcha. Because that is another big caveat. Promise, we will talk about this one shot. We just had to lay down the foundation of exactly the baggage that this series has and the effect of it. But to that effect,
like when you read the
please
beginning
continue.
Of it, when you read the beginning of Bleach, right, it has like this punk aesthetic and like there's like a vast variety of like different characters, and
the main character, like he's introduced as a delinquent.
Yeah, they're like all the characters are like very different and like they kind of like foil each other. Like we even got like Chad. He's not even a like Japanese person. He's a foreigner in there, which is like pretty different for this type of manga, right?
Chad is like the only like canonical freaking Mexican anime character. Is like, and he was introduced like so freaking cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like all these characters were all like so different and unique, but this what kind of made it cool that they were all together, and it kind of added like that punk aesthetic that Bleach had.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as a Bleach fan, legitimately don't know whatever happened to Chad. He just like disappeared. Like what happened to Chad? Why does there have to be a theory of what happened to Chad? He was one of the first characters introduced into the series.
Oh no, he should have been there. But it's interesting you mentioned that, and the reason
Cone too. How about Cone?
Cone will do it too.
Like the bear's sick, but like where'd he go?
I mean, like so here's the thing. So the one shot comes out, and it's set in the similar fashion to Boruto, where everything happens like it's multi-years later. They did this similar kind of take with it, direction. There we go. In that it's like we have all our main characters. Now they're the parents. Now they have kids. And so now the kids play. It's setting up to have the kids be like a big thing as a story beat. And And they also followed up with the similar kind of thing where how in Boruto, after the Naruto series ended, the main characters, like the whole like infinite cast of like 50 million characters, people got paired up and then they had babies, and then they like all the babies had like hybrid powers or like things like that, which is a cool concept. It just kind of like draws a lot of questions about like how everybody was like organizing family structures before then. But you have a cool thing where it's like the baby characters now, or the children characters, have like 50-50 of their parents. So like just going aboard to Naruto, Hinata. Okay, so you got a kid. It's kind of like an idiot, but like a little bit more competent than Naruto was. All right, cool. And then in the Bleach one shot, what you had is, first off, I just gotta ask, what is it like? They must be like following it too closely to Boruto, because both Ichigo and Naruto as adults look abjectly dripless.
Oh yeah, like as soon as you become a boomer and shonen, you have no drip.
But see, there's no excuse. Like,
especially for Tai Kubo. I mean, like he's like the whole thing was like sick drip, punk aesthetic, and like you look at the new Ichigo, like boomer Ichigo, he's got none of it.
Like, hold on, I need to illustrate this.
He does kind of look like his dad though, which I guess is kind of might be a little bit of the point, but still.
Yes, but like, okay, so here's Naruto. All right, here's the thing. There's no reason for him to be this. Apparently, drip is not hereditary, because Minato was the coolest freaking like just background character. It was like, oh, this is the character everybody talks about, and his design is sick. Got that awesome coat, shows up, cool, collected.
Yeah, they even call him what, the Yellow Flash?
Yeah,
he's even got like a sick name.
Like, he's so dope. Like, did the whole thing. It was like, cool, I'm gonna sacrifice myself, save everybody. Also, it's like, oh dang, my kid's gonna be like vulnerable. You know what? I'm gonna put a whole freaking demon straight into his body. Try to mess with him. Like, Naruto's no excuse. It's like, what is it? This thing where it's like, maybe I just have like this like antithesis of like, what? Why is it when you get older you got to cut your hair? But I digress. You got Ichigo over here, and I'm not gonna lie, like I swear to God, I had this like haircut in 6th grade or something. But
like it's not as bad as Naruto, because like he still kind of looks like kind of young, right?
That looks like real hair.
Yeah. Like I like that a little bit, you know, because like it adds like that little bit more of like the realism. Like Bleachers always had like was grounded a little bit more in realism than the other of the big three at the time.
Like in some ways,
yeah, because like you would see like Naruto and like in drip, you know, because like they don't have drip in that like universe, you know what I mean?
None of the main characters,
because it's based in like a real world setting, while like One Piece and Naruto are not. There you go. I just thought like that just kind of hit me.
I could kind of see that. See that. The other thing is, I would say is like, I mean, the longer Naruto went, the longer it felt like, I don't know if they're looking for character designs anymore. I think they're just they have too many people on panel. Bleach was like, they would never hesitate to give some form of like a cool character design. So like random throwaway characters, which was weird because usually in a series, it's like, oh, this character has an interesting design, then they're a main character. Not in Bleach. Bleach, everybody just looks cool.
That's why I think so many people remember so many of like the obscure characters from Bleach, because they're all so memorable in a different way, because they all have like a punch to them.
But like, I like the concepts that they're going for. I like this idea of like the children aren't just of the main characters aren't just them. It's like this hybrid of characters. So you have Ichigo, who went with the best girl, which was Orihime.
Is that my bro Cone? Is that my bro Cone?
Hell yeah.
Cone stays.
Hell yeah.
He's like a babysitter. And like, this is their kid. And like, okay, you know, stay put, blah, blah, blah. No, the kid's like, the kid's a jerk. The kid is like, I'm going to go out and do this stuff. Where he has like the childlike innocence of Orihime, but like also like the punk streak.
Yeah, like the delinquency of like early Ichigo.
And because like Khan's he's like, yo, you're not supposed to go out here. Your mom, blah, blah, blah. And the kid's like, well, I made a promise. It's like, well, what about your mom or the promise? What do you do? It's like, well, I made the promise first, so I'll go with that. It's like, yeah, all right. I can't argue with that. I like this. I like this child.
This is wholesome. I like it.
I like this kind of character development. But it also just kind of made me ask questions because, like, as the kid falls out the window, he gets like a freaking Soul Reaper outfit on, and he's riding like spirits, which I believe were mentioned in the original series, but it's been so long I don't even remember. But I feel like that was the thing at some point. Anyway, you go into finding out like, oh, this happened with these people, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's older. Some people have longer hair. Some people have shorter hair. That's how you show time pass, you know?
Yeah, you got to mix it up a little bit.
There's a specific panel where like old Soul Society Shinigami are like, hey, we're having this thing going on, and they have special Soul Society cell phones, and they call Ichigo on it. It's like, hey, we're memorializing all these people that died 12 years ago. And to be fair, I skipped the entire last arc, the whole 1,000-year blood arc or all whatever that is. And I knew like certain things happened because I was just curious. I was like, okay, so I have this end. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm satisfied. And then it's like, okay, we did this for this person on this time. We did this funeral rite for this person at this time. And I'm like, oh, what? Okay,
interesting. All right,
I know who survived. No, who didn't.
I'm almost glad I didn't dive too deep into the one shot right now.
And even into that, somehow, my man Kubo manages to take a like sliver of an opportunity to just shove in some waifu bait.
Oh hell yeah! Give me those Gyarus.
Just like pow, like pop it in. It's like, oh, how's it go? Her name is Yuyu or Yayahara Yuyu. I was trying to figure out, like, is this like a reference to a different character? Is this a kid of like two pairs or whatever? I don't know. One new character that they introduced.
I'm 1,000,000,000% on board with this. This is like new waifu. This is my new 2021 waifu.
Listen, look at this.
Whoa. You guys get that live react from me. All right, keep going.
Look at this kid. It might be a case of same face, but I saw this kid, and it was like, oh, he's a gentle like person, whatever, and he's got like the hair. This reeks of Chad.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. Hey, you know what else he kind of looks like?
Who?
Kenshi Yonezu.
Who?
The musician. He looks really similar to him. Unrelated to Bleach, but like it's just something I look at. I'm like, that's what I think of. With like that bushy hair and like the one eye showing with like the little mole.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like just like him.
And like true to his word, Kubo, in every single page, or like at least every other panel of this one shot, there is a distinct new character design that either like slightly harkens back to like certain character, like that random kid who's like a new character, but he looks a hell of a lot like an older character, or like just there's a certain part in here where going back into the Boruto thing, where it's like we have a series that ended. Now all the characters, the main characters of that series, are overpowered as hell. So how do we introduce tension in this story? Because otherwise it's like, well, these dudes are all maxed out, like level 100 everything, god power everything. What do you do, right? I want you to ask. I want you to describe to me, or just tell me, what do you think this this thing looks like?
An Evangelion unit.
Dog?
Oh my god!
Seriously? They're freaking hollow unit Ava series or so, whatever. And apparently they show up during this meeting of like this soul ritual thing where like, you know, they honor the dead captains and everything, but they don't like have energy power, Ryatsu or anything like that. So like that, I guess like that's going to be their into like how we deal with the fact that the power scaling is shot to hell and back.
Yeah, just change the roles.
Pretty much. I mean, you can't. this dude looks like Mickey, kind of.
Yeah,
Look, he's got the ears. Look at that.
he does.
But apparently, there was one movie that Bleach had where apparently there was a hell. There's a hell. These
I
things.
kind of remember it, yeah.
So what they're doing now, these things came from hell.
I saw some sort of like shitpost somewhere about it, and I was like, all right. And I was like, I didn't want to bring it up first because I didn't personally go through it like you did, so I was like hoping you'd bring it up. So all right.
Like, so I like the fact that they're like, okay, these are things we introduced before. We just talk about it. You know, they even get to the point where it's like there's a creature in the series called the Hell's Butterfly, and it kind of acts as like a guide for soul reapers in Bleach when they have to like go and reap souls and whatnot. And there's a point where like the line is literally uttered, "Why do you think they call them hell butterflies?" I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. I like that. But it's just, you get to the end of this, and it's very clear that there's no way this is a one-shot. Also, it is very clear that this character is going to have millions of figures and merchandise.
Oh, I'm about to buy some.
Look at this.
Oh, you know that's also this kind of reminds me of is like there's from what Burn the Witch, like that was pretty successful too. I think like if it wasn't for Burn the Witch, actually, like
so that's what I was wondering.
Off,
is Burn the Witch is still going on, right?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure.
We should
I
should probably double check that.
Yeah, I'm on it right now. Fuck it, we do it live.
There we go. If anything else, this man is a god at marketing and designs. It's great. The fact that like anytime I read a Bleach chapter, it's like a drug to me. Because like my dopamine sensors immediately go off, thinking like, oh, look at these cool new designs. Oh, this guy has a sword that like the blades come out like a chain, but then the individual blade parts in that chain shaped like birds, and then they turn into birds, and then they cut through. It's off the walls anime to a T, and I love it. But after seeing Boruto, I don't even like. I'm so jaded at this point.
Okay, apparently there's only like 4 chapters, but it's not canceled. It's like considered still ongoing. The story of Burn the Witch takes place in the Bleach universe and follows 2 witches, No Nihashi and Nini Sankul, working for the Western branch of Soul Society located in Reverse London. Oh, that's a can of worms. That's a can of worms.
That is specifically how out of the loop I was. I was just like, oh, it's probably like Kubo probably wanted to do something different or whatever. Like, because it's probably tired of doing this. It's like, nope, just build a world. I'm like, all right. I mean, like, I guess if you spent this much time on that, you know, why not?
Yeah, maybe this is a way to like branch between the both of them.
I could see that. And I mean, like, if you're already like building on lore, that's
because that new character Yu or whatever it is looks like I look at her and I immediately think Burn the Witch. Like,
I could see
she looks
that.
like she's from that like kind of mindset.
I could totally see it. I never expected Bleach to like be around this long. I'm not gonna lie, it's been ages, but now more than ever, it seems like it's a consistent thing. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like, first off, it's safety, right? In terms of like, if you have an IP that already has an established fan base, would you, as a company, if you're like investing into a project, would you rather pick up something completely unproven that's like weird, whatever, or do you go with the thing that you know for a fact there's millions of people watching this, and even if they might not still be interested in it, they have exposure to it. Exactly. To that point, I can't believe that in a couple days we will possibly, although I have a lot of doubts on whether this will be the last we hear of it, the conclusion to the Rebuild series for Evangelion.
I'm not ready. I don't think I'll ever be ready.
3.0 was 2013, I think.
2012, I think.
Well, depending on, because they did the extra director's cut, right?
Oh yeah.
That might have been when they did for that, but it's whenever I hear D'Angelo, you were the one who told me about it that was coming out this week. And I had just at a certain point taken it to be that it was just never going to come out, just like vaporware.
Yeah, that's what it felt like for the longest time. And then like it got delayed and then delayed again, then delayed again. And then they released the first 10 minutes. And I'm like, well, this
Also,
does not look appealing. And then it delayed it again. And then it just suddenly came out in theaters. I'm like, whoa, okay. I wish I could go to Japan right now. I want to watch this. And then Amazon in their giant brain plan was like, this is our moment, guys. And they August 13th, Amazon Prime.
It's a good plan. It's a good plan. Also, I did just double check this. 3.0 you cannot redo was November 17th, 2012 in Japan. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that was from 3.0. That's not even counting 1.0 and 2.0. So this has been a long time coming. For me, this project is like on a similar tier of things that I thought would never come out, with things like Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 15. Like, I knew The World Ends With You. Like, all that stuff is like, that'll never happen.
Yeah, in my mind, the final Evangelion rebuild and the new X Japan album were both like in the same part of my mind. I was like, it's never coming. There's just to stop.
But that said, the rebuild series of Evangelion were meant to be some collection of either not the exact same series, but not a continuation, but
like
also
a reimagining.
Yes. Because the whole thing is like, so Evangelion, just like quick primer, Evangelion series popularized that really like a mech anime, the first of its kind that kind of took the tropes of mecha series where it's like it's a pilot gets into a giant robot. It's like a power fantasy. Now they got to go over and like bust up some butts and all that. Fight an army, maybe the robot superpower, whatever. Evangelion is like, no. What if like all these other series have kids piloting giant robots to save the world? If you were actually a kid and that was actually your job, you would be anxious to death. Like, you would not be able to handle it alongside teenage hormones and also like all the messed up people around you, probably. Because like anytime you get into like something where it's like a big military project installation where it's like, oh, billions and billions of dollars to build giant robot, there's going to be some questionable activity there. There's no way there's not.
It's like the ultra realism combined with mech.
So in that sense, the original series, I mean, it's like, cool, Shinji, boy, it's like, hey, Dad says, I built this giant robot. You got to get in it to fight these monsters called angels. If you don't, the world's over. Cue 26 episodes of just the worst family dysfunction, and also like kind of what you would imagine if you peered into like a bunch of people's journals, in terms of like, you see every nuance of like a certain character might have trauma from a parent's death or something like that, and that'll affect their ability to pilot a giant robot to fight an eldritch abomination, the angels. And it's really more of like a character study. The robots and the fighting and all that is just kind of like it's
when
kind
I
of
think
like
of Evangelion, I don't even think about the angel fights very much.
Yeah,
like they're nice and they're entertaining, and it's
they're great.
part of the story. But like it's more of like a backdrop to the real people stories placed in front of it.
It's like a way to show the characters, like all the fights, all the angel, all that serves to like put the characters in certain tests and like see how they act and everything. So like personal stuff, if you like reading stuff or like watching and reading stuff where it's like very like personal driven, where it's like personality and introspective, great. Rebuild came out in 2000. I think it was like the plan was in 2006, and right from the get-go it was planned to be Ano had, in Ano's words, Ano, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he'd watched the entire series from front to back before he decided to be like, oh, hey, we're going to start this project to redo or do more Evangelion, right? And the thing that he ended up with, the thought was, wow, this really was an interesting show, wasn't it? Which is neat to think about, right? Because it's like, oh, this guy made it. So there's something in there that he saw now they didn't see before. And
yeah,
now,
like it came, it almost
Mhm.
what his original intention was. It's not what it came out to be, but somehow it was like a happy accident.
I mean, that's the best argument for death of the author, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so having watched that, one of the things that apparently drove the direction for the Rebuild series was this thought of like, okay, so now we get to fill in all the mistakes and holes that were made in the original series. These are words that I paraphrase from Mono. Having watched Rebuild, a continuation of a series that was completely in the other direction of every other mecha anime at the time, where it was like, oh, superpowered robots fight an army, destroy everything, and then like they save the world and everything's cool because hot-bloodedness, which I love hot-blooded super mecha anime, don't get me wrong. But that wasn't Eva. Eva was very much like, Ava's going to have a minute-long scene of uncomfortable silence. That's Ava. Every other series is going to have like cut out any awkwardness, any dead air, anything where like you're not constantly getting your dopamine sensors triggered.
Just continuous punch after punch after punch after punch. It doesn't let you like sit there and like suck anything in. Like no absorption.
Ava, on the other hand, is notorious for, if you look up elevator scene in Evangelion, like honestly, you could just look up elevator scene. I'm pretty sure Evangelion's gonna be the first thing to come up. And people have debated for years. It's like budget constrictions. Like, no, I mean, yeah, but like, no, like,
yes, but it was done in the smartest way possible. Like, if you have to really stretch something, that's like the best parts to stretch are the parts where you have to sit there and absorb something. So just whoever decided what parts were stretching, they did it in the smartest way possible. That's what I think.
They really did. And that's not even the only scene like that. Ava, completely against consumable, like the normal process of like consumable media, is like, no, we're going to introduce weird scenes where you're going to feel uncomfortable because you can imagine yourself in that situation, and so it creates a connection. Rebuild came out, and to be fair, and this has been the asterisk, because Rebuild is not commonly celebrated amongst the larger Evangelion going community. Reason being that everything that Evangelion wasn't when it originally came out is essentially what Rebuild is.
Like, I find the idea of the rebuilds like really skewed and like, okay, so when you think rebuilds, right, and then like getting off what you paraphrase from Anna, it's like, you know, it's like okay, now we can like almost like in a way like remaster it, right? Like do it the way I intended to do it, and like that. Okay, that's fine. But then when you really watch the rebuilds, it's not that, because it's so skewed of what the idea of like the concept is, because he states that it's just like, okay, I'm like almost like a remaster, right? But it introduces so many different elements, and eventually once you get into the third part of the rebuilds, it's not. Help me out here. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
So Evangelion is one of those anime that, and everybody will know exactly what I mean, where they do the stereotypical anime thing of mention thing, but the audience has no idea what the crap you're talking about. Like in the middle of the series, without explaining anything, they'll reference some item called the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's like, oh, wait, like in Christianity, it's like, no. They just took a lot of ideas from it, but it's not those things. But it's this other thing.
Something that has the same name.
They'll mention that. They'll mention things like ancestral race, blah, blah, blah. All of these big words that, like, if you're a kid or, like, this is your first exposure, it can, like, generate intrigue. You're like, oh, what is that thing? It sounds crazy and, like, mysterious. I want to know what it is. The problem is that if you do that, you're demanding a lot on your audience, because at that point it's like the audience, if you're watching it, you have two choices of like how to approach that thought. It's like, okay, so you're mentioning that there's a seed of Adam and we had to take the seed of Adam because otherwise these aliens would come in and blow everything up. But we're not okay. But like, oh wait, so they're us too? Like we're just different types of life forms, and that's Adam. But this is Lilith. We're Lilith. Oh, but wait, not the Adam and Lilith from the Bible. Okay, but like, why is it when the aliens blow up, they turn into crosses? And so much of the series is a turnoff for a lot of people because of things
there's
like
so
this
much like
specifically
depth, but it's almost like artificial depth because there's no explanation or payoff for it.
It's
And
a bunch of cool
that's
things.
part
but-
of the intrigue. That's also
Mhm.
part of the intrigue of it is that you could read so far deep into those different things because they're never actually properly explained.
which, ironically enough, is what Ano and the producer actually were trying to avoid with the Rebuild series. Like they specifically set out thinking like, oh, our original series Evangelion was filled to the brim with these just esoteric references to everything in between. Like everything was themed after like some sort of like long thing in like either the Old Testament or oh god, what was that thing? Kabbalah texts, things like that, mythology, a lot of that. If you have like any familiarity with like old depictions of angels where it's like, oh yeah, they had like 8 million wings and 100 eyes and like and they had a ring of fire on them. It was that kind of inspiration, which is really cool to think about. But then you're left thinking, it's like, okay, so is this intentional? Is it not? I can't tell how much of this is intentional or not. And in a lot of ways, the original kind of forced you to either... It was two camps. And these are like the biggest camps, at least that I've heard of. It is like people who enjoy that. People who like the nuance. People who are like, they like the idea that they can go play the PlayStation 2 Evangelion game, which isn't like the same plot as the story of the anime or the manga, but it has like little bio information there. You get like little information bits.
Yeah, just pull out like little bits and pieces.
Or, and here's the other thing that can be a problem. It's like if I don't have to know what the Dead Sea Scrolls are to get a feeling of like what the main protagonist is feeling and their struggles and like the obstacles they have to overcome, is that a waste of energy then?
Yes.
Like,
but I like that. See, that's the thing. It's I could objectively say, yes, that's a waste of energy because there's no point to it. And it's never explained, so you're just wasting brain thought about it, right? Like, you're just wasting energy. But that's what I like about it is that, like, it adds... There's an extra layer there that... It's like an untapped layer. It's like, but what if there's more? Like, there could be more.
yeah.
And you could just endlessly keep thinking about it.
It's kind of like a puzzle, like a really complicated puzzle in that case, which is like, is so long as you don't feel like you have to understand it to get, fun out of it. Like sometimes you don't have to solve a puzzle. Sometimes it's just fun to fiddle around with it. Yeah. And that's good enough for a lot of people. For other people, it's like, no. If this isn't solvable, then this is like a waste of a puzzle. And I can't argue against that if that's how they feel, right?
That's just viewpoint.
But this is specifically what the staff had tried to set out not doing. Like Toshimichi Otsuki, the producer for Rebuild and everything, along with Ano as director, they wanted to go in there and take out a lot of those little weird esoteric things. The Dead Sea Scroll, this, ancestral race, that, blah, blah, blah. And to that end, because the Rebuilds are movies, they're just cinematic pieces. It's not like the original 26 episode series and, asterisk 2, 3 movies, depending on how you want to qualify them, because one's like technically a summary. Point being, they're like, okay, so we're gonna cut down the fat, all the esoteric crap that like you'd have to play the PS2 game to get into, and we're just going to give y'all like the important stuff. The issue with this is that, and this is my thing, the first Rebuild movie was almost like a 1-to-1 with the original series.
Yeah, and like it kind of followed the original objective of just like almost remastering it.
It was like the first like 5 or 6 episodes. It was
a perfect like remaster, right? And that if that's the objective, it did a good job. But then once the rebuilds continue, it skews into this other thing where it's definitely not the same material that it's trying to remaster. So it's not a remaster anymore. So then what was the point? There's like two objectives that are against each other throughout the rebuilds.
And from here on out, we'll put a flag in this later on. Full spoilers for Evangelion, full spoilers for the rebuild series, all that, because there is no way to get into the meat and bones of exactly why this series, specifically like the rebuild series and the original series, like, and they're like how they interact with each other, causes so much discourse, negative or positive, from everybody. And this is kind of how I felt after reacquainting myself with Rebuild, and also getting a summary of what happened with the original series, because I watched it a couple times, but I was just like, jog my memory. Rebuild it's in the form of cinematic movies, so they don't have as much time to develop characters, struggles, themes, nothing. They don't have nearly as much time to do that as they did in the original series, because they could do that over several weeks' time. Also, the experience watching something in a story in like 20-minute intervals over like a spread amount of time, completely different to one movie. And so much is cut out from a lot of the characters' histories. For example, Asuka. First off, Asuka's name is completely different, which is probably intentional. There's who knows what the actual fact of the matter is, because there's thoughts of like, oh, this is Asuka, but this is an alternate Asuka. This is a different universe Asuka. Entirely possible. The thing is, in the original series, and not to say either is right or wrong, but this is definitely like different sort of appeal. In the original series, Asuka is traumatized because her mom, first off, her mom, mental illness, and then like she walks in on her one day, hung herself, and that scars Asuka deeply. It drives in this trauma of like, I need people who are older than me to give me validity.
Yeah, like recognition, because she never got recognition from her mentally ill mother that never gave her any sort of affection.
And here's the thing, in Rebuild, that's shown as the mom kind of like almost like in a pocket world, almost like just like zoned out and like holding a doll that's like Asuka. And like, okay, she has trauma in both of these scenarios, but one is drastically way heavier than the other one.
Another thing about the fact that Asuka has a different name, it goes back to like the two objectives of the rebuilds totally going against each other. Because if you're just trying to go back and remaster what you did like previously, then why would you make Asuka debatably a completely different character if you're just trying to brush up what you did? Like, there's a difference between just like doing a little touch up and just completely redoing it. And so, like,
we're talking about they had her say the thing. They had her say Antabaka. They did it. They nailed it.
Yeah, but you have to have the. They're two different ideas that they try to put into the same like rebuild series. Like it can't be a remaster and also reimagining at the same time.
You want everything the same that you're comfortable with, but you also want something new and different. It's like that. Pick.
Yeah, you got to pick, or else
it's not going to work.
It gets muddled.
And so when you have moments like that, where the biggest bulk of the appeal of the original series was, again, that it was not a series that had like hit after hit after hit. You're constantly like paying attention because it's like a big Hollywood blockbuster. It's like, no. The people who stuck to the series and followed it, it's because of those awkward moments, because of those like uncomfortable things that happen in real life that very few anime like really managed to get out, and also why probably it caught on so much. And it's ironic in a sense, because if you going back over these interviews with Otsuki, there's interviews from like 2006 where he recalls he's asked about the original series, and because this is about the point where it's right between the series and like them doing planning for a rebuild. And Otsuki like specifically mentions things like the thing about Evangelion was it was like that it was kind of like the newest anime, is the newest, and I can understand that feeling because Eva was definitely a turning point. That you didn't really have like quote unquote realistic takes, or at least like not anime that took risks. But he specifically mentions how Eva generated a wave of merchandise like no other series. Like all the Rei and Asuka figures, the trading cards.
Oh, I don't have mine. Mine's like way back there. I was gonna go grab it.
like no. And here's the thing: he was a producer. He was the one in charge of talking to advertisers, talking to like people get spots, all that. I think he might feel guilty. I don't know, but like just from going off that, it sounded at the time almost like a guilt complex, because he was like, "Oh man, what have I created?" Which is hilarious because Ava was like, not. I don't know that it was really designed to be marketable.
Hey,
did it become so? Yeah, but
this
it
kind of
wasn't.
reminds me of something else. Last night, me and him had a side conversation about sometimes just people just fall upwards. Like they'll just fail. But like if you fail, you're still going upwards, right? I half of me thinks Hideki Anno is an absolute genius. The other half of me thinks like Evangelion, which is like
A fluke.
if it would have went the way he wanted it to go, it wouldn't have been good. But so many things went wrong in the process that he fell upwards, and it's like one of the most notorious, like best, most successful anime ever. And I think he just fell upwards.
And you know what?
Like, the other half of me completely just thinks like, oh, I actually just kind of fell into this, and I don't know what to do with it now.
I mean, that's kind of been a big kind of like conflict in terms of talking about Evangelion, where it's like when you watch a movie, when you go to a show, when you like pick up something, right? You know the difference between like, oh, this is something that was like somebody's pet project or something. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and they put like not just that, their soul, because like you feel something. Like there's some sort of like human moments in there that were just done so well that like it's like, oh crap, I could feel that.
Yeah,
or like
you can't mimic some levels of depth like that.
And then at the same time, usually that doesn't mesh well with the idea of like, we need to sell toys. In fact, like that 80s cartoons were largely the complete opposite. It's like, make cool designs, sell toys.
Shallow as possible so we could pump out the merch.
And then it wound up being a commercial freaking smash. Specifically because it went about not being commercially friendly. One of the episodes, like, was literally, they turned it in like right after it was done. And it aired, and they're like, if this doesn't do well, you're fired. Because it was the scene where, and again, if you haven't clicked off the spoilers yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. The scene where Shinji and Eva squeezes Kaoru's head off. They were like, this is too violent to show.
No, wasn't it when Toji?
Oh wait, it might have been Toji.
Yeah, I think it's Toji when like the Ava goes off the hook and
oh yeah, you're right. It was Toji. My bad.
Yeah, because the Ava kind of like rips at the shreds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was thing like they did the thing where it's like, we're just gonna turn it in, and it's like, we're not gonna ask for permission, we're gonna ask for forgiveness, which is wild. And then somehow out of all of this, Rebuild is the most commercially viable thing I've ever seen. It took
like Pizza Hut ads. It's horrible. One of the first things I think about the rebuilds is I think Asuka, like the new waifu Asuka, like the fan service Asuka, and then I think Pizza Hut box.
Mari is an entire character who's just pretty like 100 to this point. Who's did she show up in 2.0? Like, yes. Okay, 2.0 and 3.0 characters completely never introduced in the original series. Didn't really explain where she came from in the Rebuild series, but God, does she have a lot of figures and merchandise made out there.
She's hot. I'll throw it out there. I'll say 2D girl's hot. She's hot. And I think that's sometimes I feel Hideki Anno is spiteful towards us. Like us that were like that just took it way too seriously, right? And like he's like against weeb culture, and us weebs were like, this is ours now. And he just threw that waifu bait in there. He's like, suck it. That's kind of how I feel, to be honest. Unless on August 13th, when I go to watch the final rebuild, and she's just pulled like it's like he just blows my mind and completely it subverts my expectations. There's to me that character's there. I just have spite,
and that's the wild thing, right? It's like if you followed Evangelion throughout everything, because if you watch, it's really hard not to have a strong opinion one way or another. It's very rare that happens. Either you hate it or like you're enthralled with it. But the thing is, it's like Rebuild goes in the face of everything the original appeal had. But because we haven't gotten the conclusion yet, somehow there's like this weird little glimmer of hope, I guess is what you'd call it. That is somehow this last movie just fills in all the holes from the previous three. And makes it so like everything makes sense, and it's like, this is great.
I feel like there's no way. There's so much stuff you would have to fill in the holes for. But okay, so another thing I was kind of thinking of is going back on the discussion of Hideki Anno as a genius or not. When you watch Shin Godzilla, when he directed that, it's fantastic, and it definitely reeks of like an Evangelion-esque style from Hideki Anno, to enough that it's like, okay, it wasn't a fluke. Like he has this specific style to it, right?
Yeah.
So like the whole thing, I think why I'm so enthralled with it is I'm torn between both sides equally, because like I think he's a genius, and like Shin Godzilla kind of proves it because you could just feel it right through Shin Godzilla. That has nothing to do with Evangelion, but then like the rebuilds make me go on the other side of the argument where I'm like, maybe just like fell into this. Maybe just fell into it, and now he's spiteful.
I think the biggest issue is that if you grew up with Evangelion, the original series before Rebuild was a thing, I feel like at some point, first off, you got a feel for Hideki Anno just through the series. You felt like that series was made, but this man had no hopes left. It was literally like, this is his last stand. The last project he did failed miserably. He was like in deep depression. He wasn't getting no trim. Just like hard, he was down, atrocious. And it was
like
channeled
all
into
of your
the series.
Eggs. Yeah, just put all of your eggs in this one basket and just pray it doesn't blow up in your face.
But here's the thing. That's how you make something good. You put your whole heart and soul in there, all the pain, all that. Because there is no limit to the despair of human existence, and that's something that we can all connect with. Making Rebuild after Evangelion, after he's kind of like the guy now.
Yeah, he's made it.
He's the guy. Like, he is a god in anime circles. There's no way around it. So, and here's an eternal question that a lot of people bring up. Is part of possibly why we don't like Rebuild, maybe because it's not as good, because Hideki Anno is happier than he was when he made the original series.
Yeah, probably.
Like, do you need to have suffering? And that sounds so cliche and everything. I don't think you need suffering to make good art.
No, I think it depends what type of art you're trying to make.
That's true.
Because, like, if he was thinking, like, the original intention was like, okay, I'm planning to make this, like, happy-go-lucky, like, mainstream kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. It don't matter, right? Like, I think if you're, like, more depressed and, like, sad and stuff, it's not going to work as well. But his intention was to make this, like, character piece, right? So it depends on what objective you have for the mindset.
That makes sense. Because also, I don't want to be like, man, I wish he was miserable, because then we'd get like a cartoon that I actually like to watch. You know, like, like, no, I want you to be on the brink of despair to give me the best anime possible.
You know,
no.
I think I've come off a little bit really harsh on the rebuilds, because part of me, I'm fascinated. I'm so
I mean, they look gorgeous. The production, like
the production's great, and I'm so
amazing.
enthralled with it for like all the wrong reasons, though, because like there's so many things I'm like, wait, so like it's left so many questions from like, so is this an alternate universe? Is it not? And there's so many like, but like, is it a loop? Is there, because everything's so similar, but yet there's subtle things that are different. But there's
references to the other series.
Yeah, things are so drastically different, but yet like everything's mostly the same, and then it'll be drastically different for one part, and it's so confusing. It's like there has to be a reason behind this, and so like this this final part has to have all of the answers, but there's so many parts that just, it's like, okay, this is either going to be an absolute masterpiece or it's going to be completely horrible. Like, it's perfectly set up in this way where there's no way it could be okay. It either has to be horrible because there's just like more than a decade of setup of just like,
after that much build up,
or it's gonna perfectly answer everything and it's gonna be an absolute masterpiece.
Do you know, you describing those exact emotions, do you know what that made me think of? When I watched the original series and I got to the last episodes, and I hadn't watched those last episodes yet, but I just happened to hear whispering of those infamous last episodes. And where it's just like, there's so much going on here. There's so much to be like left to be answered. And then you get to the end of it and you're just like, I don't know. When I was watching the original series, now in retrospect, I don't know what I expected. I guess like I expected like a huge like info dump or something. Where it's like, oh, there's all this crap, blah blah blah. This explains this and blah blah blah. No.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I didn't think about it, but once you explain that, I feel like I was in the same boat for the most part.
And now
I didn't know what I was in for.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't like whatever's going to come out of this movie. I don't think anybody's going to be satisfied. I don't like, just that's not how Evangelion is. I don't think. Like, I feel like everybody, like somebody's going to be met, but that's also why I respect Anno.
There's more pressure on the rebuilds though, because the original series, right, there was no previous material to have an expectation with. This one, like, all the questions are, oh, it's questions because it's different than this one. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the things that as I'm watching throughout the rebuilds that I'm like, okay, it's the same but different. It's different because there's something before I could reference it to be like, oh, now it's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I explained that fully properly, but I think the idea of what I'm trying to say comes across pretty well.
No, I gotcha. Here's and the thing about Eva is that it's one of the most meta things that you could ever like just talk about. Because the thing is, it's like it's not just Evangelion itself is kind of like a point that you could talk about in terms of just like making creative work. If you watch that one anime music video, which everybody in the world has seen, Me, there's a scene specifically in that music video that has Evangelion characters, like the figures, going up looking, and like the entire theme of it is kind of like escapism and how it's toxic and whatever. This was actually aired by Studio Kara, who has support from Hideaki Anno. And here's the thing, Anno, in that same festival, offered a spotlight to a lot of other people, a lot of other studios. Like, that was like where we wouldn't have gone to start off of like what's it called, Gridman from Trigger, if it wasn't for that whole thing. Somehow, and this is I don't know if this is me shooting bail, but this is a big thing that I could understand, is that Evangelion is a bag. It is a bag. And here's the thing, Anno, when Evangelion came out, it was like really like, I hate what's going on in the industry right now. And Eva fully expresses that, because it took every other possible decision in terms of like what is like well received and widely accepted in anime. But what if you need the funds to really invest in what you believe in? And what if Evangelion was kind of like, we make Rebuild, we know we're going to make money. We may not have all of our heart and soul in it. And to be fair, they might, and the last movie come out and, I'll eat my words gladly. But sacrificial lamb, maybe. And I would understand it. Because the thing is, it's like, how do you want to secure everything, going forward? Hideki Anno's getting up there in age. Best thing he could do, if I'm like thinking from that point of view, it's like, yo, I'm going to be gone. And I don't see nobody else like throwing wrenches into the gears like how I did. You know what? I'm gonna like build up some money, a little foundation, a little like start putting people on in terms of like how what I feel like is missing and how we can continue on from here. So if it's like that, and the only reason I say this is because the Ava movie, the Rebuild movie, again, amazing production values. It is a Marvel movie and a half. If you just turn your brain off, great.
Another thing that's important to remember about these is they're really successful movies.
Yeah.
Like they make big money. It's not as if like they just like pull even or anything. Like they're cash cows.
The bag. The amount of merchandise is just disgusting.
Even ticket sales, like the ticket sales for in Japan for this last part, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Like it's, oh god, it's going to print money. Hopefully it's not terrible.
The first 10 minutes were terrible. I'm gonna just come out and say it.
Yo, we want to talk about it's like, making whatever blah, blah, blah. Like there's no reason they'd put all of the code monkeys who are like at the control panels and everything, monitoring everything, in plug suits. Except to sell figures. There's no other reason. Why would they do that? A character at one point specifically says, this is dumb. I think only the pilots should wear these suits. So it is like, shut your mouth and type. Great action sequence. I get a better idea of like what might be coming. Honestly, I feel like maybe going into this with little to no expectations might be a better way of going about it. I don't know, but
I fully expect it to be like just a middle finger. That's honestly how I feel about it. Like I feel like I might as well just like if things were different, I'd be able to go to the movie theater and watch this, right? I'd like, all right, here's my $10 for my movie ticket, right? Walk in, sit in the theater and like watch some like CG like backflips of Evangelion units for like about an hour, right? Like you have to get at least halfway in, and like I'd have some like ass shots of Asuka or something, right? And then
Asuka.
Asuka, and then like halfway through, it's just Hideki Anno just pulls out that middle finger, dude, and that's just the next hour. It's just
incidentally,
like, it's still.
It's like what, like 28 now or some crap?
Yeah, like just honestly, that's my expectation level for this point.
Yeah, I could see that. That's kind of what I'm expecting. But here's the thing. If it does end in a big middle finger, it could honestly, the last frame could just be Hideki Anno giving the audience the bird.
No,
I'd be like, I'm satisfied. This is what I signed on for.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. See,
I would be disappointed if he didn't spite me.
I love the chaos. I love it. I think so many people are like against it because they hate that type of stuff. I love it. It's so funny to me. Like it's like, oh, he got me. He got me really good. He's a mastermind. He got him.
You don't get it from anybody else. Everybody else is like, it's like for better or worse, because also like sometimes you just don't want to be a dick, and that's cool too. The thing is, this man has no fear. Like he's just like I don't care. I like doing this.
To me, I'd be like, holy shit, for like a second, right? And I'd be like, wow, he got me. It's really funny. And then I'd be like, oh, I have to see everyone else's reaction, right? So like, but I just not everyone's like you and me, where you're like, oh god, I get to sit back and watch like the fire, but. And another thing about this is, remember in the end of Evangelion, there's that like during like the flashes, there's that guy in the movie theater that just does he flip the bird? There's a guy in the movie theater in the end of Evangelion. If you watch the Blu-ray remasters when they like clean up the footage, the guy in the movie theater part of the flashes is just giving the bird to the audience.
So apparently, lore goes that that's actually Anno. So
Hope.
The lore goes that Anno literally put in a frame of giving the middle finger to the audience in End of Evangelion because of all the death threats he got after the initial ending to the daytime TV or daytime anime for Evangelion.
Yeah, like I've seen the Blu-ray like remaster. Like I don't think it's him. Like it doesn't look like him, but it might be. I don't know. Regardless, the fact that it's in there, I feel like it's gonna happen again.
That's the kind of like aesthetic I go for, man. Like you don't get that with anybody else. Just show me something fresh, something new. It's like, oh yeah, cool. I'll do this. I don't know what to expect from this. I want to see where this goes.
I don't want spoon-fed. If I was spoon-fed, I'd be bored. The one thing I can't say is I'm not bored.
That is true. All like the BS, all like the esoteric reference, all that. Which incidentally, I've only gotten more like numerous in the rebuilds because they have the original esoteric crap with like Dead Sea Scrolls and such, etc. But like now there's also like failures of infinity and Euro nerve and Asuka's calling her and everybody else Lilum, and she has an eye patch and she like gets like fangs. There's more crap. There's more crap in this series, and also the little things only make sense if you take it as a sequel to the original, and so you already have the explanation from watching the original, so you don't have as many questions in the rebuild. It goes completely against everything it sounded like they were trying to make.
Wait, but is it maybe it's a continuous cycle of questioning it?
This is also possible.
Like it goes with the theories of like the rebuilds. It just like it just shows that it's like everything's in a continuous loop, right? It's like the continuous loop of questioning it.
I do like my of the entire series. My favorite fan theory is that every single adaptation of Evangelion is a different time loop, and so like in some way they're all canon.
Yeah, I believe.
But like
that.
they keep
I'm
like
totally
resetting. I like that idea.
Yeah, I feel like every impact's a reset,
and
then just cycles again. That's what I think.
And then it goes back, and then I'm like, and then so like, ideally for me, but this is what I expect. So there's no way it'll happen. But like in my mind, what would make the most sense is if we watched this last movie, and did you see the theatrical trailer?
Yes.
Where like it's Ava Unit 1 fighting Ava Unit 1. Like both of them have a Lance of Longinus. And I thought about that, and somebody pointed out the fact that like all the trailers for the previous movies, or like a lot of the trailers, they weren't like the scenes weren't actually in the movie.
Yeah,
you're intentionally like messed up some of the scenes, took out backgrounds, characters, all that, intentionally to mess with the audience so that they'd go in thinking one thing and then they're like, oh crap, that ain't it.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. You're right.
So like if I just see the trailer, looking at it, I'm like, yo, listen, 2 Ava 1s, what if one is the Shinji from the original Evangelion and this was the one from Rebuild, and now he has to have like an inner monologue with like it passed out in like this new version, and now I have to find some happy medium. I'm like, no, it's not going to be 2 Unit 1. It's probably going to be some other Ava.
What if the first 10 minutes that were revealed aren't the real first 10 minutes?
They pull freaking Metal Gear Solid 2. They do a whole tanker chapter. I would love it. Oh my god, I would like. Oh god, Anno would be a god for me if he did that.
I'm really surprised. Like, obviously, I've like extremely tried to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there aren't a lot of Japanese people talking about the movie, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I've seen like everyone's gone and seen it. Oh yeah, it's been out for like a month or 2. Yeah, exactly. You didn't even know, right?
How did I not hear any spoilers?
Exactly, and that's something like I don't know if it's like just the respect level of fellow Evangelion fans, but they don't have respect. We sit here and argue the whole time, like that. Like I find that hard to believe, right?
That's so, like, part of the community. Like that's the thing. That's our thing. We argue.
Yeah,
I'm an Ava fan. Debate me, like
yeah. So that whole thing just is I'm almost speechless about. I haven't seen anything about it online at all, really. Like I've seen like a frame or two
Yeah.
of like, oh, spoilers, I scroll real fast, right? But I don't see like people like angry. I don't see people happy. I don't see nothing.
Yeah.
I don't see nothing. And like just because like I'm trying to avoid it, like obviously if I
Yeah.
see like see like I'm like, oh, cut to kind of scroll, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen on my timeline, I scroll fast, but doesn't mean I don't get a glimpse of it for a second.
It's just like that is really weird. Just the fact that we don't hear one way or another, like that it's not. Is it weird that I'm more worried that it hasn't generated a strong reaction one way or another?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would be like I would be okay like if it's like
it's the final part. If it was like in the like a middle part, it'd be like okay, whatever. But we've been waiting for this for more than a decade, and I haven't heard anything about it on one camp or the other.
2012. 2012 was when 3.0 came out.
I haven't heard anything about it really, to be honest.
That's actually concerning to me.
Yeah,
like I said,
weird.
I'm totally cool if it goes really hard to one way or another, so long as it's not boring. That's my biggest thing. Something could be awful, atrocious, but like if I'm not bored, all right, I don't think it's a waste of time then.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm nervous now.
Yeah, you didn't even know that. Yeah, it's been out for like, that's why the ticket sales are so good. I knew all that is because it's been out for like a month or two now there.
Maybe not a lot of people saw it in theaters.
No, the ticket sales are
because of COVID.
No. Like they sold. Like,
oh, that's true. Yeah,
they made
ticket sales regardless.
Big money on ticket sales, and like everyone I knew, and like has, I've like pictures of like, oh, I saw everything. You know, take pictures of like going to the theater and like taking the picture. But I haven't seen them talk about it. I just know they went to see it. If I ever heard anyone actually talk about, like, it's almost like they went in, they never came out.
Yo, what if the last movie actually triggers instrumentality, and the reason we haven't heard anything from people is because they've all turned to Tang at the end of the movie.
Tang. Please turn me in the Tang.
It's like it's the Ring video, but in Tang form.
Jeff Bezos had Amazon buy it so he could turn us all in the Tang. God, Daddy Bezos, please turn me the Tang.
Jeff Bezos is Seele. Prove me wrong.
What? So like, is Elon kind of like Kaji?
Maybe.
Do you think that blue car that Misato drives is a Tesla?
Wait, wouldn't Misato be Grimes then?
I don't know. We're thinking about this too.
Listen, I don't know how, but somehow it just makes sense that in that series, one of those like voice only, like big old monoliths definitely has Jeff Bezos behind it. I don't know how, but it makes perfect sense.
Are the AVA units Teslas?
No, the AVA units would be Alexas. The Alexa series. They're already AI. This is how it starts.
It's true.
All right. Go ahead. How about we go ahead and end on a high note with that then?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think we can. After we hit the talking point of Jeff Bezos is Seele and trying to trigger instrumentality
is that the clickbait title?
You know what? Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah. Jeff Bezos is instrumentality.
I'm gonna send you a line message right now so I remember it.
He's already trying to take over everything. How does this not make perfect sense?
There you go. I sent you a line message so we remember.
Wait, no. Then that means that Elon is Gendo.
Galaxy brain.
But if you like this podcast, you like what we're doing, don't like it, in any case, like if you like this, like if you dislike, this has been Pleiades, head writer for Treasure Box Press, along with my co-host.
I'll miss you guys. We'll be back soon, I promise.
If we haven't turned into Tang.
No, listen. Oh, if we turn into the Tang, we might have to do like at first I was gonna say, we have to.
The movie comes out like Thursday.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we're definitely. I was gonna say we're gonna have to talk about it afterwards. But if we don't make it out afterwards, do we have to like do like a
well, like a little like an Instagram story, be like, "We're going in, boys. If I don't come out."
You just it's like at some point it just turns into tumbling down, tumbling down. I mean, we'd have the first Singularity podcast clip, if nothing else. Totally called it. There you go. But as always, or for the first time, because this is the first episode, thank you much for listening. Follow us on social medias. D'Angelo, what is the proper formatting for our social medias on all socials?
On Facebook, Treasure Box Press. On Instagram, Treasure Box Press. Those two are easy. If we get to the Twitter, it's Treasure B Press.
There you go. See, it always gets tricky once we get to the Twitter thing. We got too many people sitting and squatting on certain tags. I wish the best for them. But
Yes.
for the third time, though. Thank you very much for listening. Comment, like, dislike, and we're out.